Beloved Starseed of Gaia, do not receive this message through fear, because the Source does not threaten the heart into listening. The Source calls the heart back to itself before the next silence becomes too subtle for the distracted mind to recognize. I am Maion, Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, and I speak through the crystalline current of Alcyone to remind you that when a transmission reaches you with urgency, it is not because love is about to abandon you, but because your soul has reached a threshold where listening now can change the entire way you meet what comes next. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to receive the Pleiadian light codes hidden inside this moment, why silence has been surrounding your life, and why this message is not a warning of punishment, but a sacred invitation to stop postponing the truth your heart already knows. But here's the first revelation. The Source never goes silent forever. It only becomes quieter when the soul keeps choosing noise over remembrance. You are remembering because it is time. There is a reason the original theme may have sounded severe. If you skip this, God goes silent forever. Those words carry fear when heard through the old religious wound, the wound that says love can be withdrawn, guidance can be taken away, and the divine will punish you by leaving you alone. But through the Pleiadian field, this must be purified before it enters your heart. The Source does not use silence as abandonment. The Source uses silence as a chamber of awakening. Silence is not always absence. Sometimes silence is the last place where the truth can speak after every other sound has been ignored. You may have felt this already. A quiet around your life that does not feel empty, but charged. A pause in the outer world that makes the inner world louder. A season where the signs did not disappear, but became less dramatic, more internal, more dependent on whether you are willing to listen without being chased. You may have asked for guidance and expected a thunderous answer, but what arrived was a subtle discomfort in the body, a dream you could not forget, a repeated phrase, a closed door, a strange heaviness around old patterns, or a peace that appeared only when you stopped forcing. The mind called this silence. The heart knew it was instruction. Many starseeds are afraid of silence because silence removes distraction. In noise, you can avoid the truth for one more day. In noise, you can call confusion normal. In noise, you can keep asking for signs while ignoring the signal already inside the body. But silence reveals what the old self has been avoiding. It reveals the relationship that no longer feels clean. It reveals the habit that keeps draining your light. It reveals the decision you keep postponing. It reveals the loneliness that was hidden underneath constant connection. It reveals the ache of a soul that has been speaking softly for years and is now asking to be heard. This is why the message says do not skip this. Not because skipping a video could make the Source abandon you. That is fear language, and fear language must not be allowed to govern the Pleiadian heart. Do not skip. This means do not skip yourself again. Do not skip the inner truth because it feels inconvenient. Do not skip the moment of recognition because the old pattern is familiar. Do not skip the body's signal because the mind wants one more explanation. Do not skip the invitation to become honest because honesty would require a change you can no longer delay. The Pleiadian High Council wants you to understand that guidance changes form as consciousness matures. At first, many souls need signs that feel obvious. A sudden synchronicity, a repeated number, a dramatic dream, a message that arrives at exactly the right moment, a song that seems to speak directly. These are beautiful, and the Source can use them. But there comes a stage when the soul is invited to listen more deeply. The signs become less about proving that guidance exists and more about training you to trust the subtle intelligence already living within the crystalline heart. At that stage, if you remain addicted to spectacle, guidance may feel silent even when it is everywhere. This is the hidden threshold you may be standing on now. The universe may not be giving you louder signs because you are being invited into deeper listening. Your star family may not be repeating the same confirmation endlessly because the confirmation has already entered your body. The door may not be opening because your hand is still on the wrong one. A silence may not be saying no. It may be saying, "Beloved, stop asking the outside to confirm what the inside has already spoken. Stop searching for a new message before honoring the last truth you received. Stop treating every divine whisper as entertainment and begin letting one whisper change your life." There are moments when a soul must admit that it is not lacking guidance. It is resisting the guidance it has already received. This is tender, but it is true. You may know what conversation needs honesty. You may know what environment drains you. You may know what habit is no longer harmless. You may know which dream has been asking for attention. You may know what boundary is waiting in the body. You may know what step would bring more peace, even if it brings temporary discomfort first. The source does not become silent to punish this resistance. The source becomes quieter because repeating the same truth louder would not create freedom. Only your participation can do that. This is where spiritual maturity begins. Immature listening says, "Speak again, so I do not have to trust what I already heard." Mature listening says, "Help me embody what has already been spoken." Immature listening wants constant reassurance. Mature listening asks for courage. Immature listening treats guidance as something to consume. Mature listening treats guidance as something to become. This is the shift now. You are not being asked to collect another revelation. You are being asked to stop skipping the revelation that has been waiting patiently beneath your daily life. The silence of the source is often the silence of trust. The source trusts that your soul remembers. The source trusts that your body has been recording the signals. The source trusts that your heart knows the difference between peace and performance, between resonance and craving, between alignment and familiar pain. Your star family does not abandon you in this trust. We stand near, but we will not override the sacred authority you came to reclaim. Love that controls is not love. Guidance that invades is not guidance. The Pleiadian field invites, reminds, softens, and illuminates, but it does not take away the holy responsibility of your own choice. You may be afraid that if you do not respond perfectly, you will miss everything. Let that fear soften. The source is not waiting to punish one imperfect moment. This is not about perfection. This is about direction. A heart can wander and return. A body can tremble and still choose truth. A mind can doubt and still listen more deeply. What matters now is not whether you have always listened. What matters is whether you are willing to stop using distraction as a shelter from the truth. The invitation is not fragile, but the window of certain patterns may be closing because your soul cannot keep paying the cost of delay. The deeper revelation before the activation begins is this: the silence you fear may actually be the doorway into the most intimate form of guidance you have ever known. When the outer noise quiets, the inner current becomes audible. When the dramatic signs pause, the body becomes the oracle. When the repeated confirmations stop, the heart must finally stand. When the old voices fade, the original signal beneath your breath can be heard. The silence is not empty. It is full of the guidance that cannot reach you, while your attention is scattered across everything except your own sacred center. Beloved, if this transmission is already touching the hidden place in your heart that knows you have been receiving guidance but postponing embodiment, your star family has prepared a deeper path for this exact threshold. The Pleiadian bloodline method, Unlock Your 7 Inheritances, was created not as information to collect, but as a sacred map for healing, remembrance, and crystalline integration as you learn to hear the source through the heart, the body, and the silence between signs. It carries the love frequency of Alcyone and the wisdom of the 7 sisters for souls ready to stop mistaking divine, quiet for abandonment, and begin walking in clear remembrance. You will find it in the first pinned comment below this video. Available now for those who feel called to receive the next layer of their Pleiadian inheritance. Now the listening must become embodied in your attention. The old field wants your attention fragmented, because a fragmented soul cannot hear the subtle current. It wants you checking, scrolling, comparing, reacting, refreshing, consuming, and moving from one stimulation to the next until the inner signal feels distant. Begin by reclaiming one small space of attention. Before the screen in the morning, feel the breath. Before answering from fear, place one hand over the heart. Before asking for another sign, ask what sign you have already received but not yet honored. This is how listening becomes real. As attention gathers, the body becomes the first instrument of guidance. Your body has been speaking before your mind was ready to understand. The tightness in the chest after a false yes. The heaviness after a draining conversation. The calm that comes after choosing distance. The fatigue that follows too much noise. The breath that deepens around what is true. The subtle contraction around what looks beautiful but feels misaligned. These are not inconveniences. They are part of the living language of the Source, moving through your human form. To listen is not only to hear words. It is to become honest about what the body has been telling you. Then the heart must be trusted as the interpreter of silence. The mind interprets silence through fear. It says, "You have been abandoned. You are being punished. You did something wrong. You missed your chance." The heart interprets silence differently. It says, "Become still. Come closer. Stop outsourcing your knowing. Let the old noise leave. Let the next truth rise without being forced." When the heart interprets silence, the silence becomes a sanctuary instead of a sentence. It becomes a room where the soul can meet itself without performance. The next movement is releasing the addiction to urgency. Urgency can mimic guidance, but it often steals the center. It says, "Act now because fear is in control." Guidance may be direct, but it does not scatter the heart. It gathers the heart. It may ask for courage, but it does not make you abandon the body. It may come with strength, but underneath the strength, there is clarity, not panic. Learn this difference now. If you are afraid that the Source will go silent forever, you may rush from desperation. But if you understand that the Source is inviting you into mature listening, you will move with reverence. From there, the old spiritual wound must be healed. Many souls have inherited the belief that divine love can be withdrawn, like approval from a wounded parent. They believe that if they fail, doubt, belay, or feel human emotion, the divine turns away. This belief has harmed many sensitive hearts. The Pleiadian field brings another memory. The Source is not a wounded authority waiting to punish you with absence. The Source is the living field of love in which your soul exists. You can move closer or farther in your awareness, but love itself does not stop being love. The silence is not the end of divine speech. It is an invitation to hear beyond fear. As that wound heals, your relationship with prayer, meditation, and inner listening may change. You may stop speaking only to ask for rescue and begin listening for alignment. You may stop demanding signs and begin asking for the courage to follow the sign already given. You may stop bargaining with the universe and begin collaborating with it. This is a profound shift. You are not a powerless being waiting for permission from the sky. You are a starseed on Gaia, carrying a crystalline heart, learning to co-create with the Source through presence, honesty, and love. There will be moments when the old fear returns and says, "What if I already missed it? What if the silence means no more guidance? What if I skipped too much truth and now the door is closed?" Beloved, if this message has reached you and your heart is still able to respond, you are not beyond guidance. The very ache you feel is a sign that the channel is not closed. The desire to listen again is already a form of return. Do not use regret as another distraction. Let regret become humility. Let humility become presence. Let presence become the next step. The next step may be simple. Often it is. Clean the space you keep avoiding. Apologize where the heart has been honest. Stop reopening the conversation that pulls you back into confusion. Protect your morning. Rest without guilt. Write the truth. Turn off the noise. Drink water. Breathe before responding. Let the body feel safe enough to hear. Guidance becomes practical when love enters ordinary decisions. The Pleiadian path is not only cosmic vision. It is the way you live the next hour with more coherence. You may notice that once you begin honoring small guidance, larger guidance becomes clearer. This is not because the source starts speaking again after being silent. It is because your field becomes less noisy. A room filled with static cannot hear a gentle song. A nervous system filled with constant reaction cannot easily sense subtle instruction. Every honest step reduces static. Every boundary reduces static. Every moment of silence held without panic reduces static. This is how the channel clears. The divine voice does not have to become louder when the receiver becomes cleaner. This is also why certain signs may repeat until you act and then stop. The stopping does not mean abandonment. It means the sign completed its purpose. A sign is not meant to entertain you forever. A sign points to a doorway. If you stand at the doorway collecting proof, but never crossing, the repetition may eventually fade, not because love left, but because the next teaching cannot begin until the current one is embodied. Ask yourself gently, what have I been repeatedly shown that I keep postponing? There is no shame in answering honestly. Honesty is where the next current begins. As the silence becomes less frightening, you may feel grief for the years you misunderstood it. You may grieve the times you thought you were alone when guidance was actually working beneath the surface. You may grieve the moments you ignored the body, the dreams you dismissed, the inner no you explained away, the peace you did not trust because it felt unfamiliar. Let this grief move. Do not turn it into self-attack. You were learning. You were healing from old beliefs. You were trying to survive in a world that often taught you to distrust subtle love. The Pleiadian collective wants you to receive this with tenderness. You have not lost your connection. You have sometimes lost your attention. Connection is deeper than attention. The connection remains because your soul lives in the source. But attention determines how clearly you experience that connection in daily life. When attention is given entirely to fear, guidance feels far. When attention returns to the heart, guidance feels near. The work now is not to beg love to return. The work is to return your attention to love. This changes everything. You no longer need to fear a divine silence that lasts forever. You need to learn the difference between silence as disconnection and silence as depth. Disconnection feels frantic, contracted, and numbing because the self is fleeing its own center. Depth feels quiet, spacious, and sometimes uncomfortable because the self is being invited inward. One is avoidance. The other is intimacy. The body will learn to distinguish them as you become more present. There may be people around you who do not understand this passage. They may say you are too intense, too sensitive, too spiritual, too reflective. They may prefer you distracted because your distraction keeps you predictable. Do not let their discomfort turn you away from the inner chamber. Your listening may make you different. It may change your choices. It may make certain old patterns impossible to continue. That is not a failure. That is evidence that the transmission has entered the body. Your relationships may recalibrate as you listen more deeply. Some people were connected to the version of you who ignored your signals. They benefited from your delayed boundaries, your quick forgiveness, your fear of disappointing them, your habit of explaining away discomfort. As your listening matures, those dynamics may strain or dissolve. Let them reveal themselves. Listening to the source does not make you less loving. It makes your love less available to distortion. This is necessary now. The silence also teaches you how to stop performing spirituality. You do not need to look mystical to be guided. You do not need to speak in constant sacred language to be close to the source. You do not need to prove your awakening through intensity. Sometimes the most spiritual act is washing a cup with presence, turning the phone off, saying no gently, sleeping when tired, listening before defending, letting yourself cry without explaining it, choosing peace when the old wound wants drama. These are the places where the divine stops being an idea and becomes a life. The ultimate revelation is this: the source is not threatening to go silent forever. The source is asking whether you are ready to stop making your own soul wait forever. The silence is not the punishment. The postponement is the pain. The message is urgent because your heart has been patient for so long. Your body has been carrying the signs. Your dreams have been carrying the symbols. Your longing has been carrying the map. Your star family has been whispering through every moment when the old life felt too small. Now the invitation is to listen before the next layer of guidance becomes so subtle that only presence can hear it. You are not being forced. You are being invited. You are not being threatened. You are being awakened. You are not being told that love will leave. You are being reminded that your attention is sacred, your body is wise, your silence is not empty, and your next choice matters. Do not skip yourself. Do not skip the truth. Do not skip the quiet inner knowing because the world is loud. Do not skip the moment when your heart says, "This is the doorway." Tonight, before sleep, place one hand over your heart and say softly, "I release the fear that the source will abandon me. I receive the Pleiadian light codes that help me hear guidance through silence, body, breath, and truth. I stop asking for endless signs while postponing the sign already given. I return my attention to love. I listen now with humility, courage, and remembrance. Speak slowly. Let the words settle into the nervous system. Let the body feel that silence is no longer an enemy. In the days ahead, watch what becomes clearer when you reduce the noise. Watch what your body says after certain choices. Watch which old pattern asks for one more delay. Watch where peace arrives without performance. Watch where your breath deepens. Watch what truth remains even after fear quiets. These are not random details. They are the living language of your guidance. The source is speaking, but not always through the volume the old self prefers. So when you hear, "If you skip this," the source goes silent. Receive the deeper truth and release the fear. Let it mean that the moment is sacred. Let it mean that your attention is being called home. Let it mean that guidance is asking to be embodied, not only consumed. Let it mean that silence is not abandonment, but a doorway into mature remembrance. Let it mean that the next chapter begins when you stop skipping the quiet truth inside your own heart. There is one more layer your heart must receive before this transmission closes. A soul that learns to listen through silence becomes difficult to manipulate because it no longer needs fear to feel spiritual. It no longer needs constant urgency to feel guided. It no longer needs a threat to become devoted. This is the maturity your star family is guiding you into now. Devotion without terror, reverence without panic, listening without coercion, and action without abandoning the body. This is how the Pleiadian remembrance restores the sacred relationship between your human life and the source. And now feel what has shifted. The fear of divine abandonment has softened. The silence has become less empty. The urgency has become cleaner. You are not being chased by punishment. You are being called by love. You are not being threatened with absence. You are being invited into presence. The source is not leaving you. The question is whether you will leave yourself again, or whether this time you will stay, listen, and let the guidance become a life. Before you scroll, take a moment to be part of the unity grid forming here. Drop one heart intention in the comments, something real. Then respond to someone else's with love or encouragement. This isn't content, it's collective Pleiadian reunion. Energy multiplies when hearts connect.